The story kicks off with our MC looking like a total wreck as a voice yells out, asking what he's doing. From there, a girl tells Krosh to hurry up and steal the curse that's affecting Lord Arthur. Krosh says he's at his limit, but that he'll start stealing the curse right away. His purple energy surges, and with it, he begins to steal the curse. We're introduced to Krosh. He's considered a failure despite being born into the strongest family line. His eyes widen as he absorbs the curse. His ability called Black Hood activates. The person having the curse removed is surprised. This is a skill that has the ability to steal curses from other people and transfer them to himself. To give you some more background on Krosh, he's part of the Blue Sky Generation, a group of heroes fighting against the world's erosion. While Lord Arthur, now free from the curse, receives a potion from his companions to recover, Krosh feels an unbearable pain, falling to his knees. Lord Arthur looks up at the sky, a bit weak but already feeling much better. Just then, a skeletal knight mounted on a demonic horse appears in the sky. The creature looks like it means business, with a broken horn and one eye glowing blue. Without wasting any time, it launches a giant fireball at the mountains. Lord Arthur seems hopeless, wondering if they can fight the Blue Knight with so few people. Right after, his sword drops to the ground, and he says it's impossible to win this fight. Hopeless Arthur calls Sigranabella and Mary over to him. All the girls hug him together. Meanwhile, Krosh gets up panting and calls out the Lord's name. He gets really ticked off, wondering what on earth the hero is doing. Lord Arthur, with blood trickling from his mouth, says there's no way to beat that thing. On his knees, Krosh hears humanity's greatest hero, Arthur, speak empty, unmotivated words, showing a total lack of faith in their victory. But Krosh becomes absolutely furious just thinking about giving up. Because of this, the Lord and his group turn their backs on a pile of their allies' bodies. Krosh shouts in anger, asking how many people were sacrificed just so he could be with his women. In response, one of the girls tells our MC to shut his mouth. Sigrid defends the Lord, saying he did his best. She insults Krosh, calling him a piece of trash who only knows how to steal. Our MC is outraged and replies that she has a lot of nerve to call him trash. Our MC points at the Lord's group and asks how they can say that to the person who saved their lives. He yells that without his ability, the group wouldn't have even gotten close to where they are now. With a crazed look in his eyes, he offers to refresh their memories, starting with Abella. Abella, one of the witches from the Magic Tower and a member of the Blue Sky Generation, worries about the Lord. Krosh reminds her that she couldn't use magic because of a curse that he had to steal. While he was suffering from her curse, the girl attacked him when he went to get painkillers. The girl has a look of shock on her face, remembering the past. Krosh says that her attitude of ignoring others has never changed since then. Right after, he turns to Mary Diana, the strongest spear of the Empire. He calls her a brainless idiot who would fall for any curse and cry for him to steal them, and the princess who called him trash after he sacrificed his own eyes for her. Our MC asks if she has any idea how he felt helping her, even after she had bullied him at the academy because he was from a different faction. Back at the academy, he was beaten up a lot and called a failure for not being able to fight back. Despite everything, he endured the humiliation and healed her eyes anyway. He did all of this because she was part of the Blue Sky Generation and one of the people who would save the world. While he was just a disgrace to the kingdom, a complete failure with no talent for fighting. From there, he wonders what the point was of cleaning up their messes all this time. Lord Arthur says that if it were anyone else, maybe it would be impossible, but Krosh should be the one to save the world. Our MC remembers how he saw the Lord as a great hero and leader. He saw him on the front lines and decided he would stay by his side forever. Because of this, he asks why the hero is giving up so easily now that they're at the end. The Lord says that since the world is going to end anyway, it's fine to tell the truth now. He reveals that the world is already done for, so he's going to restart everything from the beginning. Our MC is completely shocked by the idea of starting over. Arthur confirms it and says this isn't the first time he's experienced the destruction. From there, the Lord reveals that his special ability is regression. And this time, he managed to find a technique for the three girls to come back while keeping their memories. Krosh understands the plan. If everyone starts over with the experience they've already gained, that means the chance of stopping the destruction next time will be much higher. Arthur says he's going to restart everything from scratch, but only with the three girls. Our MC is confused and asks what will happen to him. With a sadistic smile, the Lord prepares to deliver the worst possible news. He simply says that Krosh is no longer necessary for his plans. Hearing this, our MC's world completely falls apart. The Lord admits that the guy's Black Hood ability was pretty useful. After all, it could steal curses that were otherwise impossible to break. But Arthur questions the point of regressing with someone who's already all broken. So, he thinks it's much more efficient to get a new, clean version of Krosh in the next life. Our MC understands that he was used like a disposable item the whole time. He realizes the plan was to ditch him from the very beginning. The Lord even adds that he'll use him in the next life, and the one after that, bidding him a cynical farewell. Desperate, our MC tries to stop the group from leaving. But it was too late, and he remembers that deep down, he already knew this would happen. After all, if Arthur were a true friend, he wouldn't have let Krosh be ignored by everyone. In a final act of desperation, he screams for Arthur to take him along. Slowly, his consciousness begins to fade along with his strength. At this rate, he realizes he'll kick the bucket before the world even ends. But our MC refuses to accept such a pathetic ending. He remembers that the Black Hood can steal abilities, not just curses. Faced with this situation, he decides to risk it all and activates his ability. Meanwhile, Arthur and the girls continue the regression process. Right after, a dark energy shoots out from Krosh's body and lunges forward. With a triumphant smile, he realizes his plan worked. The purple energy completely envelops Lord Arthur's body. His goal is one and one only, to steal the regression ability from that traitor. The Lord is surprised and asks if our MC still hasn't given up. Krosh reveals that he has lived through countless destructions alongside him, and every single time he was left behind when he became useless. So, he informs him that now it's Arthur's turn to be abandoned. With a crazed smile, he agrees that maybe he really is insane. He points to the Blue Knight and reminds him that the world is destined for ruin. The giant knight watches everything from above with its cold, calculating gaze. Arthur is terrified by Krosh's determination and what he's doing. His eyes widen as he realizes the madness in the guy's plan. But the MC doesn't care about that traitor's opinion. He says that since Arthur won't save the world, he'll do it himself in the next life. With that, our MC closes his eyes and the regression ability is activated. He feels the power coursing through his body, and his mind begins to travel through time. Suddenly, he opens his eyes, startled by the abrupt change of scenery. Our MC wakes up to the sound of a baby crying in a very luxurious place. He's confused, not understanding what's happening around him. Looking around, he realizes he's in a very fancy and well-decorated room. The place looks familiar, but his memory is still a bit jumbled. A moment later, he realizes he's a child again and is in the house where he used to live. A system screen confirms that the regression was complete. He has returned to his 13-year-old self. From there, it's explained to us that the world's erosion is a phenomenon that destroys everything. With it, the environment changes and species from another dimension invade the world. Among these creatures, there are those that look very similar to humans. These terrible monsters appear in various different shapes and sizes. These creatures are known as the world eroders and are very dangerous. Because of this, normal humans don't stand a chance and can only run and call for help. But there are those who fight head on against this constant threat. They use magic and swords to protect humanity from extinction. These heroes risk their lives in epic battles to save the world. This elite group is called the Blue Sky Generation, and our MC was a part of it. Even with a weak body that only sealed curses, he joined the generation. Thus, he was used as a lightning rod for curses and betrayed in the end. As he remembers his miserable life, he wakes up back in his bed. Completely confused, he looks around and recognizes it as his old room. Our MC finds the change in weather strange, as it was winter before, and now it's a hot summer. He recognizes the place as the Azure Pine Mansion, where he lived as a child. This means his final gamble of using the Black Hood on Arthur worked. Because of that, he actually managed to steal the regression ability. Our MC is shocked but relieved by the unexpected outcome. However, he wonders how he was able to steal the ability. Many think the Black Hood is a skill that can be used freely. However, it has a very distinct flaw compared to other abilities. To steal a target with the Black Hood, one must unlock a lock generated upon activation. This lock is generated based on the value the owner places on their target. Even a rock becomes a difficult item to steal if the owner considers it precious. Therefore, things the opponent values, like skills, are much harder to steal. The greater the value, the more conditions appear, and the harder the theft becomes. With this, he wonders what was going on with Arthur at that moment. He remembers that the Black Hood activated, but he didn't see any lock appear. The absence of a lock means that Arthur truly wanted to get rid of the skill. Our MC can't believe that the King of Heroes would just throw away regression. Remembering the past, he realizes that Arthur occasionally showed a strange side. The hero seemed exhausted and acted as if saving the world was just a boring chore. Repeating a world doomed to destruction all by himself must have shattered his sanity. Therefore, to Arthur, regression was no different from a terrible curse. That's why he wanted to pass his memories on to the three girls and move on. That way, they could regress together while leaving him behind again. The fact that he managed to steal the skill with the Black Hood means something terrible. It means that Arthur was trapped in the ruined world without his main ability. He was hit by the Blue Knight's meteor shower and most certainly met his end. Krosh says he took the skill that Arthur wanted so badly to throw away, and that he should be grateful. He lets out a bitter laugh, thinking about all the injustice he suffered. Our MC remembers how he was always left out of the group. They acted as if absorbing curses was easy, ignoring his suffering. They never cared about the suffering of a teammate. With tears of anger, he remembers all the humiliation he went through. Because of this, he curses Arthur and says the hero got what he deserved. Back in the past, he looks in the mirror and sees his youthful appearance. He's about 10 years old, short but with decent muscles for his age. This is the result of training every single day just to survive in the Walheim family. He then realizes he's in the mansion right after the proving ceremony. In this ceremony, the fate of each family member is decided. The more excellent the contractor, the higher the level of the god who chooses them. But our MC was an exception, and because he had no talent, no god chose him. As a result, he was kicked out of the family's main house, and he was sent to the Azure Pine Mansion, a place for failures. Now he, the family's biggest failure, is back in this hated place. However, now he is the only one who knows about the approaching end of the world, an end that not even the powerful Blue Sky generation could prevent. Looking out the window, he wonders if he can stop the end of the world. He has a dark vision of the destruction to come, with various monsters. In anger, he punches the window and decides he's not going to just sit around and whine. It's not about whether he can or can't. He has to stop it because he fought so hard for this. After all, if the world is destroyed, he goes down with it. With a determined look, he knows there's no other option but to fight. Thus, the first step to preventing the destruction begins right now. Suddenly, a voice calls him young master and an old butler appears. Our MC is happy to see Arioto and realizes he's still alive. Arioto was the mansion's only butler, and took care of him even though he was a failure. But he remembers that Arioto was the one who poisoned him on his brother's orders. With a crazed look, he wonders when the old man plans to use the poison. It was this butler who, at 14, made him drink poison, teaching him his first lesson in betrayal. From there, he remembers several other people who betrayed him. Even his own family despised him and treated him like a complete nobody. Two men are shocked by the strength of the mere 15-year-old girl who is defeating the knights. This is Charlotte Walheim, our MC's older half-sister and a true sword saint. The two men comment on her talent, which only appears once every 1,000 years. Meanwhile, the other half-brother, Barokin Walheim, seems quite annoyed by the compliments for the girl. His eyes gleam with hatred, and he swears he will annihilate her entire bloodline. But he knows that Charlotte is too big of a risk, and her mother is also very powerful. So, there's only one option left for him, the useless failure of the family. He decides he'll start his plan by getting rid of our MC first. Barokin speaks with Arioto and says that the butler's path is also blocked because of Krosh. He offers a poison and promises to solve Arioto's daughter's problems and his debts in exchange. The butler hesitates and says he raised Krosh like a son and can't do it. In a cold voice, Barokin just says Arioto's name to pressure him. He then asks if the butler is going to choose someone else's child over his own daughter. Faced with this impossible choice, Arioto has no other option but to accept, and so the butler poisons our MC's food, sealing his fate. The butler's hand trembles as he prepares to commit the act. Our MC looks in shock at Arioto, who is injured and in his arms. With his last strength, Arioto apologizes to the young master he loves so much. He regrets betraying the boy he considered his own son. Right after, his hand falls lifelessly to the ground, marking the end of his journey. Devastated, our MC wonders what he did to deserve so much suffering. In reality, Arioto couldn't bear the guilt and ate the poisoned stew himself. Back in the present, Krosh confronts the butler, who plays dumb. But the boy asks if he really thought he wouldn't know anything. He realizes he's cornering the butler again and decides to change tactics. Our MC says that if he weren't a failure, Arioto would never have received such an order. Arioto is confused because he expected the boy to cry or get angry at him. However, the young master's reaction is completely different from what he imagined. Instead, Krosh invites him to follow, leaving the butler quite surprised. Our MC then gives a bizarre order and tells Arioto to cut the wall. Krosh challenges the butler, saying that cutting the wall should be easy for him, and Arioto immediately agrees. Without hesitation, Arioto positions himself to strike the wall with all his might. From there, he draws a giant sword that glows with an intense purple aura. The weapon looks very powerful, and is more than ready for the imminent attack. With a swift movement, he launches a precise slash against the library wall. The result is a perfect hole, revealing a secret passage, and Krosh praises the cut. Arioto is shocked by the secret passage while our MC congratulates him on a job well done. The butler stares at the boy and thinks he's acting as if he already knew everything. He realizes the young master is completely different from how he was just the day before. With that, the boy stops in front of a locked door, and the butler wonders what happened there. Our MC stares at the door and says not to make him remember the old days. He remembers that after a fire, everything in that place was reduced to ashes. But this time, he managed to go back in time and arrived before that disaster happened. Faced with the situation, the butler offers to cut the chains, but Krosh says he can't do that. This time, he's going to test his own strength, so he activates his ability, the Black Hood. Sinister shadows emerge from Krosh and rush forward to devour the door's lock. In the blink of an eye, the chains and the lock break, and the butler is terrified. Our MC throws the lock on the ground and Arioto asks if he made a contract with a god. Krosh thinks to himself that at this point in the story, he didn't have any contracts yet. He lies, saying he made a pact with a minor god and that Arioto can tell his father. The butler is left completely speechless by the young master's response. Arioto remembers that until yesterday, the boy had an empty look in his eyes, as if he had lost his will to live. He believes that the contract with a god changed the boy overnight, and that now he will have new skills. He thinks that Krosh has the same blood as the genius Charlotte, and that now he too has potential. With a determined look, Arioto grinds his teeth, seeming to have made a decision. A moment later, the butler calls out to the young master to get his attention. With a bow, he swears he won't say anything until the boy finishes what he started. Our MC realizes that this is one of the disadvantages of regression. Because of his different actions from the past, Arioto is also changing his behavior. But the memory of the Arioto who betrayed him and passed away in his arms still lives in his mind. Krosh wonders if Arthur let him steal the skill on purpose, and then cooks up a plan to ensure Arioto's loyalty. He decides that while he's here, the best thing to do is increase the number of pawns he can use. Our MC tells Arioto to do as he pleases, as he will think about his daughter's treatment later. For now, he makes it clear that the top priority is the secret library. With that, the door opens with an intense glow, revealing what's inside. His eyes widen, completely shocked by the sight. A powerful energy explodes from within the library, throwing the boy backward. He's panting and breaking out in a cold sweat, feeling the pressure of that immense power. He has seen many curses, but this one gives him the chills, and he's sure that his manual is in there. The two look at the shelves full of books, and see a sinister fiery aura coming from one of them. A moment later, he spots the right book, and with a smile, he says he's found it. This is the secret library of the Azure Pine Pavilion, where the memories of the failed ancestors are kept. They aren't skills, but rather the product of humans who wrote manuals to achieve maximum power. In the beginning, anyone could enter, but the place became a secret because of one person. That person is none other than Valhies de Marisheim, the most feared ancestor of the family. Valhies was known as the worst failure in the history of the Walheim family, but he was consumed by the world's erosion and became the strongest person. Our MC grinds his teeth because the secret manual was left behind by this failure. With a smile, he picks up the book and says it took a while, but now the manual is his. His full name was Damaris Walheim, the most powerful ancestor of all. He was both the greatest failure and the strongest figure in the family's history. In his time, the greatest mages in the world tried to challenge his immense power. However, he destroyed their magic with a single hand, without the slightest effort. With a sadistic smile, he dominated all his opponents with ease. One of his victims lies fallen as it's revealed that no one could stop him. His secret technique was known as extreme blood poison. By absorbing the erosion, he used a secret technique of madness to wield its power. Krosh holds the book and wonders if Damaris went mad from not being able to control the erosion. He remembers that when he was hit by the curse, he used the Black Hood to weaken it. With the book in hand, he realizes he can use the same principle for the blood poison. The idea is to steal a curse that controls outbursts and use it to neutralize the other. With this, the two opposing forces clash in a confrontation of power. From there, a new energy emerges from this fusion, creating something entirely new. Our MC realizes he can become as strong as Damaris using this method. He then turns to Arioto and calls his name to give his next orders. From this day forward, he orders that no one is to enter the Azure Pine Mansion under any circumstances. The butler accepts the order without question and quickly leaves to carry it out. Arioto decides that he will repay his debt to the young master by refusing Barokin's proposal. After all, his true master from now on is the young Krosh. Elsewhere, Barokin is furious and tears everything apart upon learning that Arioto refused his offer. He looks at a newspaper about the genius Charlotte and complains that she and the failure annoy him greatly. He blames Charlotte's mother's blood for interfering with his direct lineage with his sister Lilish. The woman named Lilish also seems to have a look full of resentment. Because of all this frustration, Barokin grinds his teeth in pure rage. Suddenly, a servant appears behind him, asking if Master Barokin called for him. Barokin sends his servant to the mansion to investigate why the butler changed his mind. The servant returns and says he can't get in, leaving Barokin very confused about the situation. He explains that the young master's butler has blocked the entrance and won't let anyone pass. Barokin is furious to learn that the butler wouldn't even let the head of the family in. He curses Krosh, calling him an arrogant failure, while our MC meditates in a purple aura. The boy is completely focused on his training to become stronger. With a punch, he feels the power and wonders if he has finally reached the expert level. There are several realms of aura. The first is the user level, where one learns the basics. The second is the expert level, the line that divides geniuses from common folk. He thinks that Charlotte, who is only 2 years older, is already almost an aura master. Even being a monster of talent, she couldn't prevent the destruction. Faced with the world's ruin, the girl was completely powerless and could do nothing. He compares himself to his sister and wonders if he can protect the world at this rate. Our MC becomes pensive and looks at the floor with a very serious expression. A voice echoes in his mind, saying that you'll never know if you don't try. He consoles himself, because before the regression, he couldn't even use aura due to the curse. But now things are different, and even if he can't compare to Charlotte, our MC can grow with the secret manual left by another failure like him. With a determined smile, he affirms to himself that he can become much stronger. A vision of an older him with a powerful aura appears, and he says that this is enough for now. Arioto appears with a towel and congratulates him on reaching the expert level. Our MC takes the towel and says it's no big deal to make such a fuss about. While drying himself, he asks the butler why he was waiting there. The butler bows and announces that his fiancée, Lady Bianca Hardenheart, has arrived at the mansion. Upon hearing this, our MC is completely shocked and speechless. He remembers her as Bianca the White Demon, a very feared figure in the future. She became the leader of the Eroders and defeated one of the 10 strongest from the heavens, but now she is just the youngest daughter of the Hardenheart family, a normal little girl. Looking at the girl at the gate, he realizes it's a political marriage. It's a deal where the Walheim family gets rid of a nobody and gains an alliance with the North. With a smile, our MC thinks that they are both being conveniently used by their families. He actually already had something to discuss with Bianca, and is surprised that she came to him. Bianca Hardenheart is the youngest daughter of the family that rules the northern continent. Because of the influence of her mother, who was cursed, she was born with a major problem. From the moment of her birth, Bianca was afflicted with a curse called Snow Doll. This curse even reached her soul, so it couldn't be broken by normal methods. As a cursed child who was born in exchange for her mother's life, her situation was quite sad. Because of this, Bianca was treated very coldly within her own family. Thinking about this, our MC wonders if the girl hated him for some reason. He hopes this won't interfere with his plan to steal her curse for himself. After all, the Snow Doll is the curse he needs to control the extreme blood poison. Our MC thanks the butler while wiping the sweat from his intense training. He tells Arioto to bring the girl inside the mansion and ask her to wait a bit. From there, a memory from 5 months ago shows Krosh treating Bianca very poorly. He yelled at her, telling her to get out and saying she was only interested in his family's power. The girl has a sad but also very serious expression after the humiliation. Without a word, she simply turns and leaves the room. Bianca thinks to herself that she didn't come here because she wanted to be with him. In a flashback, her father says that for the family to survive, she must marry a Walheim. He holds her by the chin and calls her name in a very cold and calculating way. The girl knows that her house's fate depends on her, and that she must do whatever it takes. If it weren't for the arranged marriage, she would never deal with a cynical loser like Krosh. The girl clenches her clothes tightly, showing all her frustration and anger. Because of this, she decides that she is the one rejecting the engagement, not the other way around. Back in the present, our MC remembers what a jerk he was and lets out a "hoops." With a smile, he apologizes for the hot tea and says he's gonna have a word with the maids. Bianca is left completely speechless by the boy's sudden change in attitude. Our MC then invites her for a walk in the garden to relax a bit. He asks Arioto to bring macadamia cookies, and the girl follows him in silence. Krosh says her journey must have been long, and that they should see each other more often. Bianca says that for someone like him, his tone sounds more like a superior than a fiancé. The girl stares at him with a serious and suspicious look, without saying another word. She thinks something is wrong because he seems like a different person, and she never said she liked cookies. Meanwhile, Krosh admires the peace of the garden, and the girl starts to ask a question. She questions him directly, asking if he is really the true Krosh. The two stare at each other for a moment, and a tense atmosphere arises between them. Our MC then extends his hand and touches the girl's hair, who is a little surprised. With a sinister aura, he asks if he seems that different from before. Bianca is completely terrified upon feeling the intense bloodlust coming from him. Scared, she immediately apologizes while our MC realizes he went a little too far. He thinks that his memories are jumbled, but there's one thing he never forgot. What he remembers perfectly is the expression that was on Bianca's face. It was the same face she made on the day she met her end in the North Sea Pavilion. Faced with the situation, he makes up an excuse and says he made a contract with a god. Bianca believes the story and congratulates our MC on his great achievement. Our MC seizes the moment and says he has a proposal to make to Bianca, who is quite surprised. The girl thinks he's going to ask to annul the engagement, leaving the boy indignant at the idea. He apologizes, saying he understands if she doesn't want to marry him, and Bianca finds him very insecure. With a dark look, the girl stares at him and says she is his fiancée. Right after, she affirms with absolute certainty that this will not change in any way. Our MC is moved and wonders when was the last time he heard such sincere words. So, he composes himself and says that with his newly awakened ability, he can do something. With a smile, he extends his hand and reveals that he wants to take her snow doll curse. The girl is shocked and remembers that even the greatest experts failed to remove her curse. She asks if he's going to take the curse, and he says yes, and that he might even annul the engagement in return. Bianca thinks that since he's a failure, he must have problems with his family. Because of this, she believes he's so tired of everything that he wants to erase his feelings. The girl gets worried and wonders if the boy might be having some mental issues. She remembers a mage saying that when someone reaches their limit, their mind becomes sick. This mage explained that the person might become someone else, or even try something against themselves. The girl remembers the mage saying that these moments are dangerous and signs of an end. He advised her to stay by the person's side, and because of that, she holds the boy's hand. Bianca says he will get through this, and that he doesn't need a curse to control his emotions. Our MC is completely confused and says she's getting things mixed up. She warns that she will visit him often, and he asks why, since she hates him. The girl says she can't abandon someone in danger, and he realizes she didn't deny hating him. Our MC understands that she's very stubborn but has completely misunderstood everything. Since she won't cooperate at all, he decides to use his ability to steal the curse. His lockboard skill activates and a purple energy completely surrounds the girl. From there, a powerful energy manifests in her hands as she braces for the worst. With that, an unlocked condition appears and our MC gets a big shock. The condition to steal the curse is quite simple: become a friend to Bianca. He realizes it's a double lock and that the curse has been a part of her since birth. He thinks being her friend is harder than being her fiancée since the girl has no emotions. So, he'll keep her close to prevent her transformation and find an opening. He thinks he can prevent her transformation and take the curse, killing two birds with one stone. Because of this, the best thing to do is to hear what she has to say, and he agrees, saying he'll enjoy seeing her more often. The girl says she'll talk to her father first, and then she'll be back. He watches her leave and thinks that until then, he'll read the secret manuals, and that things are about to get very busy. The next day, he sees a cart full of boxes arriving at the mansion. The cart stops right in front of the main gate, and several men begin to unload the things. A moment later, a voice greets him, leaving our MC quite surprised. It's Bianca, who says she has decided to start living there from this very day. Our MC is completely shocked by the news that she's moving in. Sometime later, he wakes up and realizes someone is sleeping next to him. He sees that it's Bianca, sleeping peacefully and drooling a little on his bed. The boy wonders if the girl is sleeping there again, as if it's already a habit. With that, he yawns and warns that people will get the wrong idea if they see her there. Bianca wakes up, greets him, and asks why he is there, making the boy quite annoyed. From then on, he focuses entirely on his training to control his new dark energy. Our MC reflects that a few months have passed since Bianca came to live with him. He remembers the day the girl arrived and announced she would be living there from now on. He was completely shocked by her news, asking him to take good care of her. He asked if she had already moved in, and the girl said her family gave permission right away. Worried, he asked if she would be okay so far from her family at only 12 years old. He realized that because she had no emotions, the absence of her family didn't affect her at all. So, he thought this could be a good condition for them to become friends. While training, he realizes that time has passed quickly and the year will soon be over. This means that the opening of Yahello Academy is getting closer. Before the regression, it was this academy that trained the members of the Blue Sky generation. As he remembers his old companions, he grinds his teeth in pure hatred. With a wicked smile, he says he knows their weaknesses and can steal their skills. He'll turn 14 next year, so he has 1 year to get stronger. However, he notices that his talent is starting to hit a limit. Because of this, he wonders if the beginner level is the most he can achieve with the manuals. To overcome this barrier, he needs to steal Bianca's curse and master the blood poison. Upon leaving his room, he finds her sitting there and asks if she was waiting for him again. The girl confirms it and says she can't leave him alone, making our MC a little tense. Since the summer, she has been following him everywhere like a little bird, even to the bathroom. Our MC wonders when she will finally start seeing him as a friend. He invites her to go out and play, but Arioto interrupts him, calling him young master. The butler announces that an invitation from the Star Sanctuary has arrived, and the boy is curious. This is the name of a party for minors that happens once a year to create friendships. Krosh remembers the event and thanks the butler for the detailed explanation. He thinks that before the regression, he was a recluse, so his memories are a bit vague. With a serious look, he starts to think about what he should do next. He believes his brother will be there and decides to go so that Arioto won't be manipulated again. Our MC accepts the invitation and Bianca says she's going with him too. The butler warns that the other participants will surely criticize him a lot. Our MC says she might also be a target and suggests that maybe it's better if she doesn't go. But Bianca refuses to be left behind and says she's going with him no matter what. After all, she states with a sparkle in her eyes that protecting her partner is a fiancé's duty. Our MC pets her on the head and says he didn't ask as a fiancé, but what she feels. The girl looks at him with a thoughtful expression and notices that look of pity again. She reflects that over the past few months, the boy has been strangely kind to her. He always treats her well, whether it's asking what she wants to eat or covering her so she doesn't get cold. This warmth comforts her, as she was never treated with such care in her own home. His kindness was so great that she doesn't even remember her terrible first impression of him anymore. Given this, she looks at him and says firmly that she no longer dislikes him and that she's going. Bianca adds that it's not as a fiancé, but of her own free will, leaving the boy shocked. Completely speechless, he just agrees with her decision, not knowing what to say. Soon after, a carriage approaches a giant hall, and he asks if that is the Garyu Hall. As Bianca sleeps on his lap, he wonders if they have money to burn, renting such a famous place. After all, nobles are respected because they fight against the world's erosion in place of commoners. However, he questions if those who only care about parties are really the future of Starin. Our MC thinks that he highly doubts there are any decent people at the Star Sanctuary. A moment later, an announcer reveals that Lord Krosh and Lady Bianca have just arrived at the hall. People start gossiping about how the beauty of the North was wasted on the failure of the Walheim family. Krosh gets really annoyed at having to mingle with a bunch of fake, brown-nosing nobles. Suddenly, a boy with cat ears notices that someone interesting from the Walheim family has appeared at the party. He comments to his companions that unlike the others there are also real nobles present. This is Barak Hogma, the tiger boy, a future member of the Blue Sky generation. Beside him is Elfin Amelia, the Magpie, with her intense red eyes. And finally, we have Anix Glazer, the wooden bow, who will become one of the 3 heroes of Starin. Our MC notices the trio's gaze and wonders about the reason for their interest in him. He soon remembers Charlotte bragging about how no one could defeat her at the previous party. His sister used her powers and called the Star Sanctuary a complete garbage dump. And because she found it all so boring, she told little Krosh that she wouldn't be back the following year. Back in the present, the boy senses from the strange atmosphere that his sister must have already caused a stir there. At that moment, Bianca tugs on his clothes to get his attention, as she has noticed the tense mood. Bianca tells Krosh not to mind the voices, and he says he was just thinking about Charlotte. He thinks about how the girl is also being insulted but is worried about him, and so he pets her head. Our MC looks around and wonders when will arrive, hoping he didn't skip it. Suddenly, the crowd of nobles is in shock, and everyone starts whispering to each other. An announcer reveals the arrival of Lord Darling Danfilian, and our MC thinks, "Speak of the devil." This is the weirdo from the alchemist's castle, Lord Darling Danfilian, who loves to be the center of attention. In a flashback, Danfilian finds our MC completely covered in curses and is shocked. He starts analyzing the boy's curses with his hands, seeming to know his stuff. With a smile, he says that for erosion curses, he knows what to use and that he can solve it. From there, he grabs Krosh's face and asks if the boy wants to be his test subject in exchange for a cure. Without getting an answer, he shakes our MC's face and asks if he doesn't have the energy to speak. Given the situation, he decides he'll just start the treatment on his own, without permission. A strange energy appears, and Krosh is terrified, desperately trying to tell him to stop. But Danfilian couldn't care less and lets out a weird scream as he continues his experiment. Our MC pushes him off, yelling for him to get away, while the Lord Alchemist just laughs. This was his first encounter with the man who would later be called the greatest alchemy king in the world. Back at the party, Danfilian greets everyone while people comment that he was late on purpose to get attention. Our MC thinks that there was no way a show off like him would miss a party full of people to suck up to him. From there, he calls Bianca over, hands her some flowers, and asks her to wait there for a bit. The girl agrees with her mouth full of food, making a very cute face and obeying his request. Soon after, our MC approaches, and Danfilian wonders who this boy coming toward him is. Anix Glazer recognizes him and says it's Krosh Walheim, and the alchemist feels like he's seen him before. Elf and Amelia comments that he looks a lot like his sister Charlotte, which catches everyone's attention. Danfilian gets super excited and runs over to ask if he's really Charlotte's younger brother. The boy asks if he has some business with him, or if he's just enchanted by his beauty, and the alchemist smiles. Danfilian reveals that he heard the boy has been investigating the world eroders lately. With a smile, Krosh asks if, by putting it that way, he has picked a little of his interest. The Lord Alchemist calls him a provocative brat with a very mischievous grin on his face. He warns that since he got his attention, the boy had better be prepared for what's coming next. In another moment, Danfilian looks at some weapons and asks our MC his age. Danfilian picks up a sword and prepares to test our MC's skills. Krosh says he's 13, and the alchemist comments that his aura doesn't seem like a child's. The boy thinks that on the inside, he's already an adult, and since he doesn't have much time, he wants to get straight to the point. With a smile, Danfilian looks at him and tells him to go ahead and say what he wants. Out of nowhere, the alchemist throws a sword, and our MC catches it in mid-air, completely surprised. His eyes widen as he realizes this was no simple child's play. On pure instinct, he uses the sword to block a swift and unexpected attack from Danfilian. He yells in anger, asking what the heck the Lord Alchemist is doing all of a sudden. Danfilian says he finally met Charlotte's brother and just wanted to test his skills first. Our MC gets really annoyed with the situation and thinks this guy is a real pain in the butt. As he continues to fight, the alchemist reminds him that he had something to say and that he's listening. With a focused look, our MC prepares to counter the attack with all his strength. Danfilian is shocked and asks how a skill-less failure can fight like that. Krosh says he trains every day and thinks he needs to use a secret technique to destabilize him. He then mentions the research on curse neutralization, leaving Danfilian completely in shock. Danfilian is shocked and asks what a brat like him knows about alchemy to offer help. With a swift move, our MC dodges the attack and advances with a precise step. The Lord Alchemist is caught by surprise and retreats, panting at the boy's speed. Krosh explains that his research is about neutralizing curses with other curses. He adds that to be a first-class alchemist, Danfilian needs to prove this theory. The Lord Alchemist stops fighting and becomes thoughtful, holding his sword with an intrigued look. With a dark aura, our MC says he will help with his research. He reveals that he will do this with his special ability, which can steal any type of curse. Danfilian is completely terrified upon seeing the aura and wonders how a failure has skills. With a smile, he realizes that if what Krosh says is true, this is the perfect chance. He could prove the theory of supply and demand and curse neutralization, and he asks what he wants in return. Danfilian jokes if he wants to be his boyfriend, and Krosh says he'll need medicine for the curses he's going to take on. Our MC thinks to himself that just stealing abilities won't be enough to win. After all, not even the powerful Blue Sky generation with their extraordinary skills could prevent the destruction. Because of this, a failure like him has no choice but to use all possible means. Danfilian thinks he heard that the boy had lost his motivation because of his sister, but it seems that's not the case. He reflects on how the family has an overwhelming genius and a complete madman eccentric. With a flushed face, the Lord Alchemist gets all flustered and thinks they are quite the pair of siblings. From there, he composes himself and asks if he can ask our MC a question. Danfilian then questions if the boy intends to go to the newly opened Lallan Academy. With a sinister smile and a dark aura, Krosh replies that it's more than obvious he's going. The Lord Alchemist gets all excited, and our MC thinks that the academy is full of skills for him to steal. Thus, Danfilian accepts the deal and says the spot next to him is vacant, and the boy thinks he hasn't changed a bit. However, our MC says that besides that, there's one more thing he'd like to ask. He questions him about the discoloration disease, which turns the skin bluish and black and leads to one's end. Krosh then simply orders the Lord Alchemist to create a cure for this incurable disease. Danfilian shouts that it's impossible, and the boy thinks that he himself was the one who completed it in the future. With a determined look, our MC maintains his serious and focused expression on his goal. He clenches his fist tightly, demonstrating all his conviction in front of the Lord Alchemist. With total confidence in his words, he looks Danfilian in the eye and says he knows he can do it. Danfilian says that hearing that really hurts his pride and shows a smile. With that, the two seal the deal with a fist bump, as if they were old friends. So, the Lord Alchemist says goodbye and tells him to look for him at the mansion when the cure is ready. But before leaving, he asks if our MC likes Charlotte, and the boy gets all flustered. Our MC is confused, and the alchemist asks why he offered the boyfriend spot next to him. With a completely flushed face, Danfilian leans in and reveals that he likes men too. He adds that it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, and our MC is in shock. Our MC yells that he's not and runs off in desperation through the hall. As he flees, he remembers that Danfilian has always been a pretty weird guy. Stopping in the middle of the hall, he looks back and realizes he's finally shaken him. A moment later, his face turns serious as he notices a commotion happening in the middle of the party. Suddenly, a random noble grabs Bianca's arm tightly. The girl calls out for our MC as she tries to break free from the guy's grip. Her eyes glow with a cold light, showing all her irritation with the situation. Without a second thought, our MC flies in with a precise kick right to the aggressor's face. The noble goes flying from the impact of the kick and falls to the ground, completely dazed. Lying on the ground, he complains of pain while our MC glares at him with hatred. With a dark aura, he asks what the heck the noble thought he was doing. He repeats the question with even more anger for trying to take his fiancée by force. The aggressor is completely terrified by our MC's reaction. Our MC yells that he tried to lay his hands on a 12-year-old girl. He calls him trash, and the desperate noble tries to deny the accusation. Scared, he reveals that he was just following Princess Claudia's orders. Our MC is completely shocked to hear the name Claudia Steron. The noble confirms that the princess sent him to bring her, but since she resisted, he used force. Our MC looks at Bianca, who is standing there, watching everything in silence. Being the cursed youngest daughter, she was always despised by the nobility. The princess only gets involved with her loyal servants, so he finds it strange that she would summon her. With a thoughtful look, he realizes that there's something very wrong with this story. He feels that the situation is much more complicated than it seems at first glance. He realizes there's another connection behind this whole strange plan. With a smile, he remembers the real mastermind behind the commotion. The name that comes to mind is Kiyumi Anix, the guy who was always chasing his sister. After getting beaten by Charlotte at the party, Anix hated her but at the same time admired her greatly. Since he couldn't beat the sister, he decided to aim for the easiest target, our MC. Our MC lets out a mocking laugh at the simplicity of the plan. However, he gets really angry thinking that Anix dared to involve Bianca in all this. Our MC then tells the noble that he will go, but the guy doesn't understand. He reveals that instead of the princess, he's going to meet with Anix, leaving the noble confused. The boy says the noble serves the princess, but doesn't even know whose orders he's following, and that his intuition is terrible. From there, he takes Bianca's hand and calls for her to leave, leaving the noble behind. So, the two walk together through the hall, moving away from the commotion that just happened. As they walk, our MC asks Bianca why she refused to go with the noble. He already knew who the mastermind was because of his memories from before the regression, but he wonders why Bianca, at only 12 years old, disobeyed a royal order. With a downcast look, Bianca reveals the reason why she didn't obey the princess's order. She explains that she was waiting because our MC asked her not to leave his side. Hearing this, our MC is touched by the girl's loyalty and gives a smile. With that, he pats her on the head and congratulates her on a job well done. Upon reaching a door, they find a boy with cat ears stretching. He seems very lively and lets out an "oh," as if he were waiting for them. The boy greets him, and our MC says he came to see Anix. Barak confirms that Anix asked him to let our MC in if he saw him. Our MC recognizes him as Barak Hogma, the Tiger Boy, a future hero. He also remembers that Barak is a dual-wielding swordsman and has a very unstable personality. Because of this, he thinks Anix's orders saved him from trouble, but Barak calls out to him. The Tiger Boy challenges him to a fight, and Krosh thinks that combat is forbidden there. Barak says that if he fought with Charlotte, he can also fight with him, who seems weaker. Our MC remembers that Barak is stronger than Anix and has an unpredictable fighting style. With a determined look, he decides he needs to handle this before meeting Anix. He realizes the boy's eyes won't let him get away that easily, so our MC accepts the challenge and clenches his fist tightly. Barak lunges forward with a quick attack, and our MC dodges at the last second. He sidesteps and prepares a precise counter-attack against the Tiger Boy. With a firm step, he positions himself to strike with all his speed. A moment later, he lands a powerful punch right in his opponent's stomach. His gaze becomes completely focused as he delivers the blow with precision. This technique is known as the flash strike and catches the opponent by surprise. The Tiger Boy flies backward from the impact and falls to the ground in a lot of pain. Our MC stands there, observing the result of his swift and efficient attack. Lying on the ground, Barak complains that the boy isn't taking it easy on him at all. Krosh replies that he was the one who challenged him to the fight in the first place. Excited, Barak asks to continue but first asks if he can get his weapon. Our MC stares at him seriously and asks if he can really handle continuing the fight. With blood trickling from his nose, Barak cracks a smile, showing that the fight is far from over. Barak is left completely dizzy on the floor, not understanding what just hit him. From there, the Tiger Boy passes out for good, and our MC stands victorious. Bianca approaches and asks what he did, and the boy reveals he used a secret Walheim art. The flash strike was created by renegades and unleashes destructive power at close range. This was the only technique recovered from a fire and has saved the boy's life countless times. He says he used his strongest secret art and that Barak shouldn't be waking up anytime soon. Even knocked out, the tiger boy agrees with Krosh as he calls Bianca to come inside. On a balcony, Anix and another girl watch the scene from above with sore expressions. Seeing his friend on the ground, Anix shouts Barak's name, and the couple turns around at the same time. The boy seems surprised and says he didn't expect our MC to defeat the tiger boy. Krosh questions him and asks if that wasn't why he left his friend waiting at the door. He reveals that he knows Anix used the princess to lure him, and that now he has come to meet him. Anix is curious and asks how he found out, saying the rumors about him are wrong. Our MC confirms he's a failure, but says that if Anix loses to him, things will change. With a dark aura, he warns that the rumors will be different because he's going to steal his skills. Krosh faces Anix and says the rumor of him being a failure is true, but if he loses, the story will change. Anix just listens with a smirk on his face, without saying a single word to the boy. This is Anix Glazer, one of the future heroes and a former companion of our MC. The two were together from the academy to the Blue Sky generation, but their friendship wasn't real. Our MC knows that Anix only saw him as a friend because he was useful for his plans, and all that utility was for the worst possible reason, as he recalls in a flashback. In the midst of a battle, he realizes that all his companions have been defeated. Desperate, he screams for Anix, who is right up there, watching everything from a distance. Anix thinks that if they find out the trap was his fault, he'll lose his place in the group. Because of this, he decides that if he's the only survivor, no one will know the truth. Anix reveals that there's already internal strife and that Krosh would be kicked out anyway. With a cruel smile, he shows that he has no intention of helping his friend. So, he decides to blame Krosh for everything, since no one likes him anyway, and the case would be forgotten. Cynically, he thanks our MC for being his friend until the end. Hearing this, the boy realizes the betrayal and wonders if they were ever really friends. Angrily, our MC yells that Anix never saw him as a friend and was only close because he was afraid of Charlotte. Anix glares at him with a cold look and says that's exactly why he hates him so much. He adds that the boy has no skill, but his intuition is good, and he always tries to find someone to blame. So, he says that if Charlotte is getting married, their relationship ends there and turns his back. But Anix stops and thinks that maybe this is the best thing that could happen. With a smile, he says that Charlotte wouldn't want a funeral and a wedding at the same time, and the boy curses him. Slowly, our MC loses his strength and his hand starts to slip from the cliff. In his final moments, he wonders if this is really his end. Suddenly, Arthur appears and saves him, asking if he's okay, and there they became a team. Back in the present, our MC thinks that was the beginning of a new streak of bad luck. Anix was kicked out of the generation because of Arthur and tried to marry the princess. But now things have changed. With a smile, he says that the way our MC talks in his face remind him a lot of Charlotte, and the boy realizes Anix hasn't changed a bit. Our MC tells him not to say his sister's name and asks if they look alike. Right after, he lunges forward with his purple aura, ready to attack with everything he's got. Our MC says he's just like his sister, and that he'll take on any fight that comes his way. Anix just watches him with a mocking smile on his face, unfazed. With that, he attacks, but Anix creates a wooden branch to defend against the blow. Our MC pushes off the branch and uses it as momentum for his next attack. A moment later, he jumps and prepares to attack Anix from above with all his might. But the boy blocks the punch with his arm without much apparent difficulty. Anix retaliates with a strong kick, sending our MC flying away. Thus, the boy soars through the air, unable to control his movement. Suddenly, several branches sprout and trap our MC's body in mid-air. He manages to break free and lands on the ground, already very annoyed with the whole situation. Our MC thinks that, in the end, Anix is really irritating. Anix taunts him and says he should use a weapon, revealing his secret technique. This is a skill that strengthens and manipulates plants freely using his aura. Our MC picks up one of the branches and asks if he told him to use a weapon. With a smile, he says he's going to fight using Anix's own wood against him. With a smirk, Anix underestimates him and asks if he really thinks he can win. From there, he launches an attack with several branches and challenges him to block it with the stick. Our MC moves with agility, dodging all the attacks with ease. Anix is completely shocked and wonders how he managed to dodge everything. He thinks that for a failure to dodge like that, he must have awakened the mind's eye. With a smile, Krosh says that to Anix, he's like a natural enemy and that he already knows him. He reveals that he has seen his abilities so many times that he even got sick of them before the regression. Our MC taunts him and asks if he's thinking about Charlotte again, and Anix gets angry. With a green aura, Anix prepares to use a much greater power than before. A moment later, he launches a blast of energy that destroys everything around him. Our MC jumps back, dodging the attack and landing safely. Anix summons a giant wooden monster and warns the boy to be careful what he says. With a cruel smile, he tells our MC to be more careful next time. Suddenly, the girl who was with Anix appears, desperately shouting for him to stop. She's worried because if the attack hits our MC directly, things will get ugly. The wooden giant advances with a powerful punch that looks like it will end everything. Faced with the situation, our MC just closes his eyes and fully concentrates on the fight. He remembers finding a very thin secret art book in the mansion's library. The technique was created by a talentless ancestor who trained the same move for 80 years. Thus, the art required a total union with the weapon, something very difficult to achieve. However, because of the curses, Krosh has already experienced something similar and managed to understand the secret. From there the stick glows, and he says that he and the sword have become one. A moment later he launches a single energy slash that splits the wooden monster in half. The giant breaks into pieces, and the attack shoots up into the sky, showing the technique's power. The girl who was with Anix and Bianca are completely shocked by his strength. Anix's jaw drops, unable to believe he was defeated by a complete failure. Lying on the ground amidst the dust, he hears our MC's voice calling him. Krosh points the branch and warns him not to get so carried away next time he fights. With a serious look, he tells his rival to never be so cocky again and asks if he understands. Completely humiliated, Anix falls to his knees on the ground, unable to react to what happened. However, our MC used all his energy in that single blow and now can barely stand. He thinks he wanted to go easy to steal Anix's skill but got carried away and now can't even move. His legs start to tremble, and he's so tired that even his voice can't come out right. Seeing the boy's condition, Bianca runs desperately to help him before he faints. The girl hugs him for support, but her grip ends up being a little too strong for his condition. Suddenly, Danfilian appears and warns that if she continues like this, she'll finish him off, and that he'll carry him himself. From there, the Lord Alchemist picks up our MC and throws him over his shoulder as if he were nothing. As they walk through the hall, everyone gossips about how the family's failure defeated Anix. With a smile, Danfilian realizes that the rumors of the boy's victory have already spread everywhere. He wonders if the boy is bold or just reckless, but knows he'll be famous after this. With a serious look, the Lord Alchemist remembers an important detail from the commotion. The look of hatred on Anix's face worries him, and he feels that the rival will try something soon. Once outside, he warns our MC that he can't pass away until he helps with his research. 9 weeks pass, and we see the boy training hard to recover and get stronger. He finally gets rid of the damage from the secret blow, and is ready for his next step. He remembers being in worse shape than Anix and fainting in the carriage on the way home. Because of this, he regrets not being able to prepare for stealing the rival's skill. With a serious look, our MC thinks about the 2 ways he had to steal the ability. The first is the standard method, and the other is to make the opponent devalue their own skill. He was going to use the second method on Anix, as it's easier if you defeat the opponent overwhelmingly. Since the wooden giant was defeated with a single blow, the doubt in Anix's mind should spread. Thus, he's sure that even if it takes a while, the rival's recovery skill will be his. Upon being defeated by a failure he despised, Anix will begin to doubt the value of his ability. From there, he decides to train all year to surpass the geniuses at the upcoming academy. However, his thoughts are interrupted when Ariotto calls him at his room's door. The butler informs him that his brother Barokin has arrived and that the boy has already refused his messages twice. Tired, our MC says he can't ignore him anymore and tells the butler to let him in. Exhausted on the couch, Bianca offers him a glass of water, and he thanks her for the kind gesture. The girl then approaches and says he smells like sweat, surprising the boy. He sniffs his shirt and wonders if it's from using aura or from getting used to the smell of the erosion. The girl asks if he's going to wash up, and our MC says no, because he's about to get moving again. With a serious face, Bianca asks him to please not come near her then. Our MC is surprised by her attitude and teases her for giving orders to her fiancé. He thinks the girl has grown up and is now more assertive than before. With that, he starts chasing her playfully, asking if she can escape him. He reflects that he sees Bianca as a younger sister, and that's why he likes to tease her. But he knows that the people he knew before the regression would look at him coldly now. A vision of Arthur appears in his mind with a very serious and judgmental look. The hero questions if he has gotten soft with peace, and if he thinks he can stop the destruction like this. Our MC thinks of his former leader's name as his image fades. He doesn't want to admit it, but aside from the end, Arthur was always a hero who fought on the front lines. Suddenly, a voice interrupts him, and he wonders what Arthur is doing now. Barokin glares at him with hatred and comments that he seems to be having a lot of fun with his fiancée. Our MC turns surprised and replies that a break is sometimes necessary. Barokin is shocked because the boy who used to be terrified of him is now facing him and asking about the fight with Anix. Our MC asks why Barokin is there since he should be busy, and the brother questions this statement. Barokin says he heard that Lahulan Academy accepts students through an exam regardless of their social status. With a smile, our MC says that then his brother should also prepare for the Academy's exam. Barokin becomes absolutely furious and wonders if the boy is trying to provoke him with that suggestion. He thinks about how powerful and feared the Walheim family is, and that he is a direct descendant of that entire lineage. Because of this, he scoffs at the idea of studying just because the boy defeated Anix and calls it a joke. Our MC agrees, saying that for a normal person, it's natural to worry about getting into the academy. Barokin gets even more irritated with our MC's calm attitude in the face of the whole situation. So, he reveals that the real reason for his visit is to deliver a direct order to the boy. The order is to go to Mount Gerlach to stop the erosion, and Krosh is shocked because missions only start at 15. With a smile, Barokin says not to worry, as he will be his guardian, and taunts him about being scared. Our MC understands that the plan is to test his ability and keep him under control, so he agrees to go. He thinks he's more used to the erosion than to peace, and that he has a plan even if it's a trap. Bianca sees him leaving and asks where he's going, and the boy warns her that it's about the erosion and that she shouldn't follow him. The girl looks at him with a confused expression and questions his order as if she has no intention of obeying. Barokin gets all awkward, and our MC says it's absurd to send a boy to stop the world's erosion. With that, he pulls Bianca and says she's his fiancée and that his brother wouldn't take a child's words seriously. Our MC faces his brother with a serious and challenging look, ready for whatever comes next. Faced with the situation, Barokin becomes absolutely furious and grinds his teeth in hatred at the boy's attitude. Without a word, he just turns his back and leaves while our MC watches him walk away. From there, he pets Bianca and congratulates her, but the girl says she didn't do anything special. With a smile, our MC says it's okay if she's not aware of what she just did. The girl looks at him with a worried expression and asks him to please not faint again like last time. With a confident gesture, he says goodbye and walks away as Bianca watches him leave for the mission. From there, it's explained that the world's erosion is a phenomenon that invades reality with another dimension. Because of this, corrupted and very dangerous life forms begin to emerge in these affected locations. Besides the bizarre monsters, in some cases, the terrain of the place itself ends up undergoing a mutation. And if the erosion advances too much, the area can transform into a separate dimension, like a swamp on Mount Gerlach. One of the knights says the erosion is 3-star and that the purification will begin when the Lord arrives. Another knight comments that a 3-star erosion should be easy for a squad of experts. The knight adds that Barokin is an advanced expert and that defeating the erosion lord will be easy. From there, the older brother approaches and calls our MC by name in a very serious manner. With an intimidating look, he reveals that he brought him there so the boy could gain first-hand experience. Our MC agrees sarcastically and thinks, who the heck does his brother think he's talking to about experience? With that, he reflects that he followed Barokin despite the pressure, and he did it with only one purpose in mind. His goal is to test a provisional method he developed to suppress a possible power outburst. A moment later, a giant beetle is sliced in half by a dark and powerful attack in the middle of the forest. Meanwhile, the knights complain that the monsters keep coming, and one of them points to something ahead. Our MC warns them that the creature has no head but it bites and expands, and tells them to reinforce their aura. One of the knights is impressed by his calmness and asks if the boy has dealt with the world's erosion before. Krosh replies that he's only 13, and that it would be very strange if he had already faced something like this. Barokin laughs and wonders why the useless brat is so confident when he's barely entered the erosion zone. He remembers when he entered an erosion zone at 15 and had his pride completely shattered. Our MC thinks that this situation doesn't even compare to the experience he has already accumulated. With a smile, he reflects that his brother should in no way put him on the same level. Barokin is completely terrified at the possibility of being surpassed by his younger brother. Faced with the situation, he remembers that if, hypothetically, the boy grows up like Charlotte and surpasses him, while he's cutting several monsters to pieces with a single swing of his sharp sword, he wonders if the so-called failure of the Walheim family would, in the end, turn out to be him. Because of this, Barokin is completely shocked and terrified by this terrible possibility. Suddenly, our MC calls his name, interrupting his dark thoughts. The boy warns that they are almost at the location where the erosion lord is at that moment. Barokin says he's lucky because the lord seems to be the only enemy, and that it looks easier than his own. However, our MC warns that for that very reason, they need to be even more cautious. The knights are terrified at the idea of a 3-star lord that sustains the corruption all by itself. Barokin yells at them not to be intimidated and not to let a child's words shake them. He adds that it's just a 3-star and that they should finish this quickly so they can go home. Our MC realizes the knights will be fine without him and decides to focus on his own task. Suddenly, his eye widens, and he feels the presence of the world's erosion in a very intense way. He reflects that since he mastered the extreme blood poison, his perception has become much sharper. From there, he decides that the only thing left is to ingest the energy and absorbs it all at once. His eyes widen with intense pain, and he feels the power coursing through his entire body. A moment later, he can't handle the pressure and ends up spitting out a large amount of blood. The knights get worried, but he says he just tripped, and Barokin offers to carry him, but he refuses. With a bloodied hand, he thinks that spitting blood was exactly what he expected to happen. After all, according to the manuscript, the first step is to merge his aura with the erosion's energy. After that, he needs to observe the flow of this new aura circulating endlessly through his body. Slowly, the erosion's energy is absorbed and merges, forming a new color that cannot be overwritten. His eyes turn blood red, showing the immense power he has just awakened. Our MC is startled by the intensity of the energy and feels a dark aura emanating from him. He wonders if this is what's left after an outburst, and that no sane mind could withstand such power. Faced with the situation, he decides that maybe it's time to use that forbidden technique he learned. From there, it's revealed that one of his ancestors who lost his sight found a secret archive. However, being blind, he couldn't decipher the books and decided to close the secret library. But to prevent anyone like him from appearing again, he left a single book behind in that place. With a blue aura, our MC unleashes his power and prepares to use the secret technique. An intense energy envelops his body as he concentrates to control the immense power. The technique is an extrasensory perception based on aura that detects sensations, called the sixth sense. For now, he can only extend it to his fingertips, but that's enough to understand the place. With a smile, he realizes that the place where he is now is no longer fully consumed by the erosion. The density of the erosion has weakened, and he managed to overcome it using his newly awakened sixth sense. With a bit of blood at the corner of his mouth, he wipes his face and composes himself after all the effort. However, he knows this is just a temporary measure and that the erosion's energy always brings risks. Because of this, he will still need Bianca's snow doll curse for full control. But even so, with a smile, he is proud to have managed to suppress the power outburst on his own. He thinks that this time he has taken another step forward, and is getting closer to his goal. Suddenly, he's startled and senses a strange presence rapidly approaching him. Our MC comes face to face with a giant monster with a bizarre human-faced arm. The creature seems to be sleeping peacefully, unaware of our MC's presence there. But suddenly, the creature opens its red eyes and glares at the boy with a look full of hatred. One of the knights screams in terror upon seeing the erosion lord right in front of them. The creature lets out a terrifying roar that echoes throughout the dark forest. Barokin is completely shocked by the bizarre appearance of that monster. Even our MC is startled, as the creature is the thousand-faced demon. Without wasting time, Barokin readies his sword with a very intense blue aura. Krosh remembers his brother's technique called Ignis, a fire ability. From there, Barokin's sword is covered in flames, and he prepares to fight. With a single blow, the demon sends the knights flying as if they were nothing. Our MC watches his brother prepare to fight the monster alone. A knight admires Barokin's power and says his Ignis skill is incredible and destructive. Faced with the situation, Barokin orders all the knights to prepare for combat. It is revealed that the creature is the thousand-faced demon, a 4-star monster. This is the Ignis skill, the fire ability that makes Barokin's sword super powerful. In a flashback, he remembers Barokin humiliating him and burning his arm with Ignis. Our MC reflects that before the regression, his brother was completely insane. With a smile, he wonders how his brother is now after so long. Our MC hopes he hasn't changed and unleashes his dark aura. Suddenly, the demon starts screaming in pain as a purple energy consumes it. One of the knights is terrified and says that is the curse that erases faces. Because of this, even the most experienced knights are having a hard time fighting. One of them says the only thing they can do now is to flee as quickly as possible. However, Barokin yells for everyone to advance and prepares to attack with everything he's got. He hits the monster's face with his flames, and the creature screams in pure agony. The other knights are completely shocked by Barokin's immense power. The demon is completely engulfed in flames, and its body begins to disintegrate. With a leap, Barokin delivers a powerful fire slash against the giant monster. He warns them not to give up and says he will create an opening for everyone to attack. Inspired, the knights follow Barokin's lead and advance into battle. In the middle of the fight, Barokin wonders if Krosh is watching his great victory. He can't find him and thinks that maybe his younger brother has already fallen in combat. A knight notices that the boy isn't looking at him but at the thousand-faced demon. With a focused look, Barokin prepares to continue the fight against the bizarre creature. Suddenly the demon begins to cry tears of blood, leaving Barokin very surprised. All the faces on the creature's body also cry, showing an expression of pure pain. From there, one of the faces gets a dark look, and the situation seems very bad. Barokin realizes things are getting dangerous fast and needs to act quickly. The creature launches several tentacles in his direction, which he dodges in mid-air with agility. He is shocked and wonders where all that crushing pressure from the monster is coming from. So, he decides he needs to kill the demon before more anomalies occur. He orders all the knights to focus their attacks on the 1,000-faced demon at once. However, his aura attack is blocked, and he doesn't understand why it's not working. With a confused look, he tries to understand what's happening in the middle of the battle. He yells at his knights not to lose courage, as they are from the Walheim family. But all the knights are frozen and faceless, as if they have been cursed. Barokin is terrified and wonders if it's a curse since he didn't even touch the creature. He then realizes that the previous anomaly was part of the monster's plan to trap him. With that, the boy understands he was completely deceived the whole time by the creature. From there, we see a flashback of Barokin's past on a rainy, dark night. He was completely terrified by the dangerous situation he was facing in that place. Slipping in the mud, he thinks he will surely meet his end if he stays there like that. Fallen on the ground, the protagonist's brother believes that at this rate, he will be annihilated. A giant dark hand approaches him, ready to crush him without any mercy. Barokin wonders why all this was happening to him at that particular moment. A moment later, he questions if this would really be the moment of his tragic demise. A spirit appears and calls him an idiot for all his great incompetence. She reveals that his sister surpassed him and that he lost all his knights trying to flee. Because of this, the girl states that a pathetic failure like him deserves to perish there. A moment later, a gigantic monster tries to stomp on him to end it all at once. Barokin cowers in fear and lets out a terrified scream in the face of this terrible situation. In the present, the demon takes advantage of his distraction and attacks him with a very powerful punch. In the past, our MC drags his injured brother through the rain to save him from danger. The boy can barely stay awake and looks at his savior with great difficulty. With a smile, Krosh is glad his brother woke up. But Barokin wonders what he's doing there. Barokin is surprised he survived, and the boy confirms he watched everything from a distance. He explains that he saved him from the swamp, but Barokin says he can walk on his own now. The brother doubts that a body that doesn't even use aura can do anything, and is very annoyed with the situation. Our MC then questions if he's sure he doesn't need any help. In a rage, the older boy grinds his teeth in pure frustration and wounded pride. He yells that he doesn't need help from an idiot and tries to stand up, using his sword for support. A moment later, he is startled by something and has an expression of pure terror on his face. Barokin asks if the demon is near and how far they are, but the boy doesn't know the answer. A barrier appears, and Krosh explains that the world's erosion has probably sealed itself completely. Barokin becomes desperate upon realizing they can't leave unless they defeat the creature. He curses in anger while our MC calls his name to calm him down a bit. Krosh then reveals that there's a secret art that Charlotte taught him to finish the fight. He reveals that Charlotte's technique was what helped him fight Anix at the sanctuary. Barokin remembers that they are both children of the same mother, and therefore have a special bond. The brother doubts the technique can kill the demon, but our MC confirms it with certainty. Krosh says it's better to take a risk, and try to fight than to perish inside the erosion without doing anything. He extends his hand and says he understands if his older brother doesn't trust his abilities. But he appeals to his brother's pride and asks if he trusts in their sister's strength. Barokin agrees immediately, as he knows Charlotte is a genius and her techniques are incredible. However, he warns that if the plan fails, they will both end up done for right there with no escape. With a smile, our MC assures him that his plan will not fail in any way. From there, the two prepare to put the strategy into action in that dark forest. Hiding in the bushes, they realize that the 1,000-faced demon is approaching. Our MC asks if Ignis is ready, and the brother confirms with a flame in his hand. With everything prepared, our MC announces that it's time to start their plan to win. He then takes the first step, and comes out of hiding to attract the creature's attention. With a blue aura, our MC prepares to use his sister's secret technique. Our MC closes his eyes and fully concentrates to use the technique. Seeing the blue aura, Barokin is shocked by the power his younger brother is displaying. He wonders where all that incredible focus he's never seen in the boy before is coming from. With a surprised look, he notices that the aura surrounding our MC is very different. After all, the boy had never seen such a pure and powerful aura in his entire life. Barokin remembers that he doubted him, but now wonders how he mastered the aura that he never could. Suddenly, Krosh's voice snaps him out of his thoughts, calling him. brother Barokin. Our MC asks for Ignis, and the older brother agrees, creating a flame in his hand. From there, the blue aura sword begins to be covered by the flames of Ignis. With new power, our MC now has a fiery aura very similar to Barokin's. With a grunt, the older brother observes the sword now covered in powerful flames. Barokin approaches and asks if there's something wrong with our MC. The boy says no and that it looks like there will be enough time. So Barokin doesn't need to buy him time anymore. Barokin notices that Krosh's flames burn much more intensely than his own. He understands that with that flaming sword, our MC can defeat the thousand-faced demon. He remembers that he lost his men and only managed to flee to save his own life. He thinks that if Krosh defeats the demon, what will he be from now on? This means he is weaker than the family's failure, and the boy attacks the monster. With a single, powerful fiery blow, the creature is completely destroyed. Barokin is completely shocked, unable to believe what he just saw happen. The explosion of flames illuminates everything, and he observes the result of his brother's attack. Suddenly, the rain stops and the swamp returns to a green and peaceful landscape. A voice calls out to him, and our MC emerges amidst the appearing sunlight. With a victorious look, he announces that the battle is finally over for good. Barokin can hardly believe it's all over so easily and lets out a forced smile. From there, he starts laughing nervously and grips his sword tightly. With his pride wounded, he yells for his brother to drop dead and attacks him from behind. Our MC blocks the attack with ease, as if he were already expecting it. Barokin is confused and wonders why he can't use his Ignis. Krosh reveals that he is stealing his skill, and thanks him for the help on the mission. With a malicious smile, he says he is grateful that his brother has remained exactly the same. From there, the conditions to unlock Barokin's skill are finally revealed. It was necessary for him to hand over part of Ignis, acknowledge that Krosh was superior, and for his pride to crumble. A moment later, our MC hits him with a powerful punch and says that Ignis is now his. Barokin screams in pain as his arm catches fire, and he falls to the ground in agony. Lying on the ground, our MC calls his name with a very serious look on his face. Krosh reveals that at first, he really had hoped to get along with everyone. But no matter how hard he tried, things never worked out the way he wanted. His wish never came true, as everyone always treated him with great hostility. He remembers Barokin always humiliating and despising him since he was little. Our MC reveals that because they were brothers, he had a small hope of being accepted. He asks if it hurts as his brother writhes on the ground in great pain. With a cold look, he says he writhed in agony the same way when Barokin burned him. Our MC then kicks his brother away, throwing him violently to the ground. From there, he observes his fallen and defeated brother with a look full of contempt. With an ironic smile, our MC lets out a laugh as he observes the clear sky. He reflects that, ironically, the weather is very nice after everything that happened there. Back at the Walheim mansion, the news of the annihilation of the Knightly Order spreads. It is revealed that the erosion was upgraded to 5 stars, a level for the top experts. At Barokin's funeral, everyone comments that Krosh only survived thanks to his brother's sacrifice. Barokin's butler is furious and wonders how the failure was the only one to come back alive. But the head butler reprimands him for respecting Barokin's will, who protected his brother. As our MC walks away, the butler tells him not to let Barokin's sacrifice be in vain. Our MC thinks that they bought his testimony, and that he doesn't need to worry. From there, he reflects that thanks to his brother, he achieved great results on the expedition. Now he can use the blood poison and control the outburst with his sixth sense. Furthermore, through the Ignis skill, he managed to unlock the powerful black flame. He realizes that the black flame has exceeded his expectations and will be a great ace up his sleeve. Thus, the only problem is the investigation of the strange phenomenon in the world's erosion. He tells someone to come in, and thinks that they still haven't discovered the true cause of it all. He thinks about the world eroder who is trapped in a dream, and can only see through the eyes of its servants, the undead. Because of this, he might encounter the undead servants sooner than he thought. But suddenly someone calls him. A girl introduces herself as Saphira, an investigator from the World Erosion Investigation Team, and says she was waiting for him. Our MC then notices a black star mark right on her neck and tenses up immediately. His eyes widen upon seeing that black star, as he didn't expect to find one of those so soon. With that, our MC lets out a somewhat awkward laugh, leaving the girl completely confused by his reaction. A moment later, he ignores her and addresses the undead inside her, saying he wants to propose a very interesting deal. With a confident smile, Krosh points at the girl and reveals that he will erase her immortality. The investigator gives a sinister smile and, in a dark voice, asks if he happens to be a regressor. She reveals she was looking for something else, but never expected to catch such an unexpected and interesting prey like him. In a flashback, we see a chained man named August, the Crimson Garden, also known as the Undead. Our MC remembers that before the regression, he tried to steal the guy's immortality on Arthur's orders but failed. Arthur explains that with this, the undead will spend all its energy regenerating and won't be able to control its servants. One of Arthur's companions says she feels sorry, as the only reason he had so many servants was his immobilization. However, another girl scolds her and asks if she forgot how much they suffered because of that guy. Arthur then says the problem with the undead is solved and asks them to stop the useless fighting. The other girl tells her to stop acting like a saint, and the companion apologizes awkwardly. Suddenly, August opens his red eyes and says the whole situation is a great shame. He adds that it's a shame they failed to steal his immortality, and young Krosh agrees. The undead warns that even if he were reborn, it would be impossible to get what he so desperately wanted. After all, the condition to steal his skill was to be stronger than him, something completely impossible. Back in the present, our MC asks what made her think he is a regressor. She explains that when a child proposed such an audacious deal, he could only be a regressor. The entity calls him a liar, as a regressor cannot kill someone who transcends time itself. Our MC says it's not a lie, and a purple aura hand suddenly appears in front of him. From there, he uses his ability and launches a dark energy attack toward the investigator. The woman is shocked to see that the Black Hood skill can even steal her immortality. Faced with the situation, the investigator just clenches her fist tightly, showing her tension. The undead reveals that it only increased the world's erosion to find someone who could end its existence. Because of this, she stares at our MC and asks what the terms of the deal he proposed are. Our MC explains that she needs to cooperate for him to get stronger, as his skill won't activate otherwise. With a smile, the woman says he's asking to be her disciple, and that she would sell her soul to get rid of immortality. Faced with the situation and with a determined look, she finally agrees to our MC's bold proposal. From there, she introduces herself as August, the Crimson Garden, and swears she will make him the strongest man in the entire world. Krosh is thrown back just by the aura, and is shocked to realize that this isn't even her main body. He thinks that the Crimson Garden is as powerful as Arthur, and that with her help, he will become even stronger. So, he clenches his fist and decides he will stop the world's erosion, even if he needs the power of an Erodor. It is explained that the regression skill now belongs to Arthur, so Krosh can no longer go back in time alone. Because of this, if the world is destroyed in this new timeline, he will also disappear forever. With a smile, he turns to the woman and says he's counting on her help from now on. Krim. The woman is completely confused by the nickname and wonders what on earth Krim means. With a smile, she corrects him and says that actually, his name is Krosh, not Krim as he had said before. From there, she grabs him by the face and yells for him to call her master, leaving the boy in shock. Our MC breaks free from her and, as he walks away, says that now he can finally go back to his house. The woman asks if this isn't his house, and the boy explains that it's been many years since he last lived in that place. He adds that he doesn't even remember his parents' faces, and a hooded Valkyrie says the lady of the house is calling for him. Our MC is surprised that it's his mother and wonders if she finally became interested in him after the rumors. The Valkyrie confirms the call and says there's one more very important thing to tell him. She reveals that the lord of the house also wants to see him, and our MC is shocked to hear about his father. He thinks that his father is a demigod and that maybe he sensed something strange about him through the stars. Thus, the Valkyrie warns that until then, he must stay in the main house by order of Lady Aria. Our MC thinks he can't waste time because Bianca is waiting for him and questions if the order really came from his father. With that, he decides to leave and says he'll be back when his father really calls for him, leaving the two shocked. Through the window, we see Lady Aria observing everything with a very mysterious smile on her face. As he leaves, he adds that if his father wants, the lord of the house can come see him personally. From there, the carriage moves away from the mansion and continues its way back to the boy's other house. Already in the carriage, he stretches and says he's finally free and doesn't plan on going back there anytime soon. Suddenly, a small red demon appears at the window and calls him a rude disciple, telling him to open up. Our MC complains to Krim and asks if the color red isn't too flashy for a bird. Krim tells him not to worry and changes color to black, asking if he doesn't look like a real crow now. Our MC argues with the crow and calls him an idiot, saying he's as black as his wicked heart. He asks about the main body, and Krim curses him, calling him an unpleasant regressor for asking when he knows it can't move. Our MC thinks that Arthur is the real regressor, but he doesn't need to explain that he just borrowed the skill. From there, the carriage finally arrives at the Azure Pine Mansion after a long journey on the road. The boy warns that there's a white-haired girl in the mansion and tells the crow to be very nice to her. Suddenly, a girl in a chic hooded cloak appears and asks, confused, if he was talking about her. The girl is actually Bianca, who welcomes our MC with a very cute look. With a victorious smile, our MC turns to the crow and says he told him so about the girl. Arioto runs to greet him, and the boy asks if anything happened while he was away. The butler reveals that a letter from Lord Darling has arrived, and our MC sighs, very tired from the news. The letter says that the cure for the discoloration disease is ready and the Lord Alchemist will bring it soon. Our MC then instructs Arioto to treat Danfilian with hospitality as he will be a benefactor. A moment later, the butler informs him that Bianca has been very worried about him the whole time he was away. Upon learning that he was caught in the erosion, the girl tried to go to the main house to find him no matter what. With this, our MC is touched by the girl's concern, and his gaze becomes more serious and determined. Our MC thinks he hasn't checked Bianca's lock recently, and a purple aura appears around her. From there, he sees that the first condition to unlock the curse was to become friends with the girl, and that has been completed. With that, Crush is completely shocked to realize that Bianca's first lock has finally been unlocked. The girl notices his reaction and asks if by any chance there's something on her face at that moment. Stuttering, our MC says no and just wanted to introduce a new companion as Krim takes flight. So, he introduces the crow as Krim, and Bianca holds it in the air, repeating the new friend's name. She hugs it tightly and says it's soft, and our MC realizes the girl likes animals. A moment later, the boy's expression changes, and he starts thinking about something else very important. He wonders how he will unlock the second lock, which requires him to become the most important person to Bianca. Our MC reflects that this could mean parents, children, or friends, but since they are engaged, the most likely option is a lover. Meanwhile, Bianca continues trying to catch the crow, which flies desperately away from her hands. The girl stares at it with a determined look, showing that she won't give up on her new friend so easily. With a flushed face, he thinks that becoming Bianca's lover without emotions wasn't a condition before the regression. Krim lands on the boy's head and says the girl liked him, and our MC agrees with the crow. From there, Krim calls his name, and our MC asks what he wants to know at that moment. Krim says he wants to confirm his strength and warns that playtime is over, as they are going to the training field. Thus, we see our MC on the ground, all beat up, and Krim calls him disappointing. The entity asks if that is the limit of a regressor, and the boy says he already warned that he's a failure. Krim comments that he may have gotten this far using secret arts and the experience of regression. However, he warns that in 5 years, a true genius will leave all that hard work behind. From there, the crow shows a dark aura and says that despite everything, there is still hope. He reveals his demonic form and says that raw talent means nothing in front of him. Krim reminds him that his true ability is to steal the talent of others since he has none. He promises that he will pull him out of the bottom of the pit, and that the boy will conquer everything above the clouds. And to finish the training and prove his worth, our MC will have one last challenge. The spiritual form of August appears and tells him to steal even his immortality. With a determined smile, our MC clenches his fist and accepts the challenge without a second thought. He looks at the moon and says he doesn't even need to say he'll succeed, as his victory is already certain. With that, several days pass, and we see our MC's mansion on a very sunny morning. Suddenly, Danfilian appears all excited and waves at our MC with a yoo-hoo. Danfilian calls him darling, and our MC asks since when they have been so close. Without much patience, the boy questions him about the item he requested, and the Lord Alchemist gives a smile. With a big ta, he shows a vial and proudly reveals that the medicine is finally complete. The alchemist brags about being a genius, and Krosh says it's nothing new since he has always been a genius. Upon hearing the boy's sincere compliment, Danfilian blushes and lets out a very satisfied laugh. From there, he jumps to hug our MC, who desperately yells at him to stop. While pushing him away with his hand, Danfilian remembers he had something very important to tell him. He reveals that he heard Anix has changed a lot, and our MC is surprised by the news. The Lord Alchemist explains that even after stopping his training, Anix came back with a vengeance after the incident at the sanctuary. Ashamed, the boy thinks that even a traitor like Anix was influenced by him and finds it unnecessary. Annoyed, he tells Danfilian to leave at once, and Krim comments that the kingdom isn't all that great. The entity says the boy's weak body is perfect, as it was already planning to strengthen him with spiritual elixirs. So, he tells the boy to ask the Lord Alchemist, who was born under the star of alchemy, to make some. It is explained that spiritual elixirs are medicines that improve physical abilities and the aura of those who take them. Danfilian gives him a kiss on the cheek, and Krim says he knows the formula and just needs to pass it to the alchemist. Our MC calls Danfilian darling, and says he has one more request, and the alchemist complains about him having told him to leave. Krosh then asks him to make a spiritual elixir, and the Lord asks if the news about Anix suddenly motivated him. Our MC assures him he will cover the costs and thinks he can use the knowledge from his past life. From there, Krim tells the boy to repeat what he says, and he begins to list the elixir's ingredients. As he explains the secret formula for the elixir, the the Lord Alchemist listens with a suspicious look on his face. Upon hearing the complete recipe, Danfilian is completely shocked by the precision of the details. A moment later, he starts desperately writing everything down in his notebook so as not to forget anything. The alchemist asks where he got the formula, and Krosh says it's a family secret, leaving him impressed. Danfilian says he would love to try making the elixir, but the real problem is getting all the rare ingredients. He reveals that not even he can easily get the white snow solar fungus or the golden dragon herb. Our MC says he will ask his fiancée since her family is from Hardenheart, and the alchemist agrees. So, all that's left is the golden dragon herb, which grows near dragon nests and is very rare to find. He adds that they could buy it on the black market, but would have serious problems if the Empire found out. However, Danfilian says that for a boy like him, there is another way, and the boy becomes very curious. He reveals that the prize for the martial arts tournament for youths is the golden dragon herb, and that it's a great method. Our MC says that being a Walheim, participating in the tournament would complicate things politically. With a smile, Danfilian reveals he has a plan and offers a pink potion for the boy to drink. Krosh takes the potion and asks suspiciously if it will make him invisible or something. Without any warning, our MC drinks the potion and lets out a sudden, agonizing scream of pain. He transforms into a girl, and the alchemist says he can enter if no one recognizes him. The Lord hugs him, saying he just needs to become a girl, and the boy yells for him to change him back. Meanwhile, Krim observes the whole commotion with a look of someone who doesn't understand anything. With a dark aura, the boy, now a girl, asks if Danfilian is messing with him. Completely terrified, the Lord Alchemist desperately apologizes to our MC.